Handsome Cabin Boy is a old folk song, like a traditional song. But the version I had heard of it was of this girl that wanted to get aboard a ship, so she dressed as a man and became the ship's cabin boy. But she gets involved with the captain, and she gets involved with the captain's wife, and she thinks she's dying, but turns out she's pregnant. And in the end, the crew toasts to her and to a jolly lot more like her. When I started tattooing, I very quickly saw that it was pretty male-dominated. And the idea that my shop would be this women-run shop with these female artists seemed subversive and kind of funny. But also, you know, the handsome cabin boy is sweet and welcoming as opposed to badass, which I didn't identify with. Well, I grew up here. I was here till I was about 19. It's hard to say what it's like having been away so long and then being back here for almost a similar duration, because I think now it reframes my memory of the place. I think at that time it felt small and quiet and comfortable. We were kids who were kind of cut loose, you know, we were on our own and there were tons of green spaces. My parents made us go outside, and so we found activities to do. I think there was a brief period where my grandparents paid for me to choose a sport, and I did karate for a little bit. But then mostly just like, you know, doing kid stuff, throwing balls and, you know, biking around. I think there was a transition for me somewhere in junior high where I went from that sort of scabby knee girl that I was to, you know, learning objecthood, that as a girl you're a visual object. People's dialogues with you changed. I think that was pretty uncomfortable and angering. Like, on one hand, there is the reward of attention, but on the other hand, you were very adamantly corrected if you crossed the line into too feminine or too much attention. So the line was always moving and obscure, but, you know, there seemed to be correction on all sides. You could never quite nail just being in the world and being left alone. I always made stuff. I always drew, and always had access to crayons and paper. And I think when I would have this time and I would have all of these ideas I would be excited about, I would sit down and draw them. When I wanted a guinea pig or a hamster or something like that, and I was told no, I just sat down and just drew endless pictures of guinea pigs and hamsters, and kind of it became, you know, it's a way to create your own reality. If you can't have something, if you don't know how to fly, then you draw pictures and tell stories to yourself about what that might be like and how you could manifest that. You know, have control over that your own little world for a while. I managed to manipulate myself into as many art classes as I could, and they accommodated me. And Maureen Faulkner was like the first sort of painter that I met. She was sort of everything you'd hope a painter would be. She was, you know, so fierce and opinionated and terrifying and weird. And I remember listening to the conversations of other women who were middle-aged at the time, and the idea that at a certain point everything had to change again for them, that they should cut their hair and not hold on to these youthful things. And so here was a teacher, and she had all this long hair, and she was a painter, and she just seemed so fearless. And so we clicked right away, and she helped guide me. I said, I want to go to the best, you know, art school in Canada, and she said, okay, well, you'll go to Emily Carr. I feel like I went into it completely blind, which probably contributed to me being completely overwhelmed once I got started and out of my element and not good at school. The shock for me starting art school was how much it was about learning to think as opposed to anybody teaching you how to do anything. It was like resetting all of the structured way of thinking about the world. The emphasis on critical thinking, the emphasis on questioning became everything. I don't know if I didn't fit in or if I was more responsible for being withdrawn and not connecting with people, probably just out of, you know, fear and self-consciousness. I still feel sort of crippled by that, yeah. I definitely didn't come with my tool basket and lay it out proudly. It's something that probably became important in my second degree, where I realized that my own experience of life was the sort of richest pool to draw from. When those 4 years were done, by the end of that, I got it. I understood how amazing it was to have a place to go to where you could explore, and I wanted to keep going. So then I did my master's. And then when I was finished that, I had a routine with my studio where I would go to the studio every day and make work. And I knew that that's how to be an artist and how I wanted to be an artist. I was doing well as a practicing artist and as an exhibiting artist. I had shows that were scheduled, I had drawings that were selling, and I was getting offers for, tenure track teaching options, and everything seemed to be working out how it should if you want to be an artist in Canada. I had been picked up by a gallery in Montreal. They gave me all of the room in the world to do what I wanted. I started to make just drawings that would be impossible to show. Actively sexual bodies and wolves. This work about female desire and how impossible it is to allow for or to create a female gaze. Then the gallerists came to my studio to see them, and I remember at that point I actually put my head between my knees and was terrified. They loved the work and they exhibited the work, and people at the opening loved the work, and it was this night where you feel like you're being kind of carried around on the top of a crowd. It was a very heady experience, and I got a sense that I could make something so personal and it would work. It confirmed that I was an artist and that my career was on track and that my ideas were valid. And it was drawing. I was making it exactly how I wanted to make it, and it turned out that I just came back to the thing that I'd started with. Even when I made work that was successful, I couldn't then keep making the same thing. You explore an idea and then you move on. That just seems the most natural way to make art. I was offered a tattoo apprenticeship, not only an opportunity to work, but to return to the western part of Canada, and also to try something new and thrilling. And I knew that I was sacrificing the leg up I had to move to a small town and try something totally different. People were supportive of the idea of becoming a tattooer, but there was that comment from time to time that was, that you shouldn't tattoo your own body. That last little message about how to present your own flesh to the world. My focus did shift over to tattooing more because it's so humbling to do, for one. It's so utterly difficult to do well. I got to work one-on-one with a person and their body, and when I was done, they and that drawing were one, and everywhere they went, that drawing went. So instead of someone wealthy buying my drawing and putting it in their house and a few dozen people seeing it over the years, these were people with drawings on them. That person got to own that, and that drawing changed them. But also I got to share this very intimate interaction with somebody. With tattooing, you build up a perfect line, and it's very, very satisfying. It's like the ditch digging of art. It's construction. Originally, when I did think, okay, now I need to open my own space, I did want a space that looked like a gallery. I did want to surround people with like visual excitement and also create a space that engendered creativity in me. But this is also the thing that I think really feeds me and stabilizes me. This place is my anchor, and the shop allows me to, jump out from here and test the waters and come back to it. Because of starting this business and because of the city that this is that allowed me to do that, people that came in here that immediately befriended me. They were also the same community that was starting roller derby up in Prince George and asked if I wanted to join, which I didn't because I didn't do sport things and I certainly didn't want to put myself in danger.
We've got Bridgetown Roller Derby versus the Vancouver Murder. You'll see Vancouver is in black and red. For the Vancouver Murder, we have 1-0 Mrs. Testosterone.
There was something about the contact, the aggression, hitting people's bodies with your body and being able to just all in throw your body into something. For one, I realized how strong and capable I was physically. But the permission to have that kind of contact with people too is just this whole other thing I'd never experienced. Even if it just lasts the game, that's this crazy intimate body thing you do for an hour. I think it's a normal sort of cycle of identity and identifying. I think I had that scabby knee childhood and then I moved into girlness. I have come around, but back to just being okay with injury and bruises and things that are ugly, but with a better sense of who I am in the world, that one doesn't exclude the other, that there's that the ways of being and articulating your identity are complex and changing. I don't think I would be a tattooer if it weren't for Prince George, as sort of blown up as that sounds. I think there's something about this place. It feels like home to me. When you just make a choice and accept it, I think you really become open to all of the wonder of that place. I keep choosing this place and it keeps just giving back. When you live here and invest here in people, you really start to see how much is actually going on. People are actually very industrious here and very creative here. And I think you'd miss out on that if you are just assuming that you're already in the center of it. You make your own center when you're not in it. And when I moved here, I was kind of excited about the idea that we could have all of this talent here and we could invest here and we could grow together, and people would say, like, what is it about, the middle of BC? Like, what's coming out of that log town? Like, why is that place a hotbed of creativity? And I moved here and found out it was already happening. It was already a place where all of these crazy talented people were making a go of it. My dad always said, like, don't compare yourself to other people. Not that I feel like I've been successful at that ever, but it's a constant conversation in my mind that comparison kills joy, whether it's in tattooing or roller derby, in life, whatever. Like, we are individuals. I think it kind of is the death of creativity and risk-taking and joy to hold somebody else's life up against your own.